In today's video, I want to talk about the housing market going into 2026. But this isn't really about houses, it's about what happens to a society when its most basic promise stops working. The promise that if you work hard, save your money, and follow the rules, you'll eventually earn stability. That promise is breaking quietly, year after year, and housing is where that break becomes impossible to ignore. Housing is different from every other cost because it isn't optional. You can delay vacations, downgrade your lifestyle, skip luxuries, but you cannot opt out of needing a place to live. When housing stops working, pressure leaks into everything else. Family plans change, careers stall, people feel trapped. The longer the trap lasts, the more they start questioning whether the system is working at all, or if it's designed to keep most people just out of reach. At first, people blame themselves. They assume they failed, didn't work hard enough, didn't sacrifice enough. That belief is comforting because it suggests control. But, slowly, another thought creeps in. What if effort isn't the problem? What if the system isn't broken at all, but working exactly as intended, just not for the majority? That subtle, almost invisible design makes the rules feel arbitrary and unfair. Once that idea takes hold, everything shifts. You notice how the rules keep changing, how stability is always delayed, and how prices rise while relief never arrives. And the most unsettling part isn't that some people win, it's that the system seems to require most people to remain close to security, but never allowed to reach it. A subtle pressure keeps them in place, quietly controlling who can prosper. When housing consumes your income, your future collapses inward. You stop planning. You stop resisting. Survival replaces ambition. People trapped in monthly fear don't need external force. The system self-regulates. People accept worse deals, smaller lives, and fewer rights, not because they are weak, but because losing shelter is the ultimate threat. And whoever subtly controls housing controls everything else in society. Across the world, in every major city, it's the same story. Housing is winning, wages are losing. No matter how hard you work, how many jobs you take, or how much you sacrifice, you will never get a house. The gap only grows. Every paycheck buys less. The system is built to keep you trapped. This isn't a race you can win. It's a slow, crushing trap, swallowing most people alive. Nationally, home prices haven't crashed. Over the past year, they've edged up slightly, but that doesn't mean the crisis is gone. Millions still cannot afford a place to live. Slowly, quietly, this erodes stability. For people on the edge, it's a slow-motion collapse. One paycheck or one rent increase away from chaos. Rent consumes more income. Dreams fade. Life becomes a cycle of surviving month to month, with no end in sight. Interest rates are falling gradually, and the Federal Reserve is printing money at record pace. That usually lowers borrowing costs, but it also drives inflation. Food, utilities, and rent climb. Wages cannot keep up, and ordinary families are squeezed. For many, the promise of stability, the one people count on to build a future, is no longer real, and the quiet manipulation of housing prices behind the scenes only makes it worse. First-time buyers are being pushed out. The median age of buyers rises. Rentals take up an ever larger portion of income. People delay family planning, career moves, even life-changing decisions. Housing dominates financial life, and people stop looking forward. They stop believing that work, effort, or compliance will ever reward them with stability. Slowly, that disillusionment spreads through communities, sowing frustration and despair. Across the US and Europe, cities face growing tension. Overcrowded rental markets, skyrocketing costs, and stagnant wages create conditions for social unrest. When people feel trapped long enough, desperation spreads, morphing into anger. Protests flare, riots ignite. Fragile trust in governments erodes. What begins as a housing problem slowly infects every corner of society, destabilizing the social fabric quietly, relentlessly. The combination of unaffordable housing, stagnant wages, and rising costs is like a slow-motion implosion. People don't just feel stuck, they begin to question the system itself. Institutions lose legitimacy, populations polarize. Once basic trust is gone, the pressure leaks into politics, social life, and public safety. What seems like a housing issue becomes a full societal crisis, a warning of fracture and unrest if trends continue. Governments struggle to act. Expanding housing supply lags behind demand. Policy solutions often favor the wealthy or politically connected, leaving the majority to navigate an increasingly hostile market. The result is a widening divide between those who can secure shelter and those who cannot. Slowly, the gap creates resentment, fear, and the conditions for conflict, as populations begin to see the system itself as rigged. Housing is the canary in the coal mine. It's where cracks first appear before spreading into every part of society. Careers, family plans, health, and personal safety all are affected. When these cracks deepen long enough, unrest becomes inevitable. What starts as frustration transforms into collective fear and anger. The slow, quiet decay of stability turns into sudden upheaval if the system fails to adjust in time. Even if prices stabilize temporarily, the underlying pressures remain. Supply is limited. Demand grows. Interest rate adjustments and money printing only mask the problem. Meanwhile, subtle incentives ensure stability remains out of reach for most. Housing becomes a tool of control, not a promise. The manipulation is almost invisible, but it shapes who prospers and who struggles, quietly reinforcing inequality. As we head into 2026, the warning signs are everywhere. Home prices are high, wages lag, first-time buyers shut out, and populations growing restless. This is more than an economic problem, it's a social one. The promise that work and saving can buy security is fraying, and if trends continue, the consequences could be catastrophic, not just financially, but in the way society functions and maintains trust. We may not see it immediately, but history shows what happens when basic needs fail for too many people at once. Societies fracture, trust collapses, and unrest becomes inevitable. Housing isn't just about homes, it's about control, inequality, and the slow unraveling of the promise that stability is possible. If we continue down this path, the very structure of society could be pushed to the brink. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. If this video hit close to home, leave a like so more people see it. Subscribe if you want more videos like this. And let me know in the comments what the housing situation is like where you live, because this isn't just happening in one country. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.